Okay, so for here, we've got our piecewise function. We're broken into three different pieces here. And so let's just break it down by each piece. So this piece right here, y is going to be equal to 3. Call it y1. It will equal 3 as long as x is going to be less than or equal to -2. So as long as x is less than or equal to -2, the y value is defaulted to 3. And so that would correlate with these two graphs right here on the left. So you can see that where x is less than or equal to -2, y is equal to 3. So you can see on these other two graphs that doesn't pan out. So I already know it's going to be one of these two graphs right here. Then on the next one, the equation's a little bit more complicated right here, and it's for when x is between these values. So we'll call it y2. Y2 is going to equal -2x minus 1 for when x is greater than -2, but then less than or equal to +2. So I'm going to make a little table here. So now, even though -2 technically is not part of my graph, I'm going to go ahead and stay with blue. I'm going to plug in -2, and then I need to plug in at least one more value, definitely 2. You always want to plug in your boundary values. So even though -2 isn't part of my function, but it's on the boundary, it's approaching it. I'm also going to do 0, and then I'll do +2. I also want to do my other boundary, which is 2. Now that one is inclusive. Sometimes I like to put a little star next to it to remind myself of the one that I'm approaching. So let's see, if I plug in -2 right here, -2 times -2 is +4. 4 take away 1 would be a 3. So I have a point at -2, 3. And so that's this point right here. So, and this one right here. Now, it's an open circle, but the thing is, it got filled in by the first function, the green one up here, because when x is -2, it does include that point. So that's, oops, that's why, oops, well, that's not right. Okay, sorry about that. The computer, for some reason, this pen, I need to get a new one. It kind of, it's doing it again. It kind of sticks. Okay. Okay, I think I fixed it. All right, so this is getting filled in by the first function. So that's why when you look here, it's actually, they just connected because there is no open or really closed because they're both there, and so it gets filled in. So they just make it continuous right there. And so everything's looking pretty good so far. And so then, um, let's see. So I'm supposed to go all the way to 2, and it looks like my graph, I copied and pasted this. It looks like it got cut off slightly because, let's see, when I plug in, let's see, let's plug in 0 real quick. 0 times -2 is 0, then -1 is -1. So I should have a point at 0, -1, which I do right here, right here. Then when I plug in 2, 2 times -2 is -4, -1 is -5. So this should go all the way down, but like I said, this graph gets cut off slightly, but it's just the way it was in the computer when I copied and pasted it. So it should continue to go down to about right here, and then it stops right there. Same thing here. And so it is inclusive right there. It is inclusive. And so we can put a closed dot at the end of that to show it's inclusive. Or you could just stop your line. It should probably work either way. Then for the last one, let's see, we've got this one right here where y is going to be equal to -2. So we'll call that one y3. 3 is going to be equal to, this pen is driving me nuts. It's going to be equal to -2, and that'll be for when x is greater than 2. So on this one, whenever we start to fill this out, you want to pick values greater than 2. Even though 2 is not included, we want to go ahead and put it, and then I'm going to put a little star because it is going to be an open circle. And then from there, we'll pick a couple other values that are greater than 2. So like 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to pick, it doesn't really matter because they're all going to come back as -2. They're all going to come back as -2. Okay, so I filled out my table here. So they're all going to come back as -2, but the main thing is that border value right there will be an open circle. And so that's what I indicated right there. And so that's why it would be the first graph. It would be the first graph that was of your options right there. Hope that helps. If you have any other questions, just let me know.